know who has access to what? This is the Identity at the Center podcast. If you're looking for identity and access management talk, you've come to the right place. And now, on to the show.
Welcome to the Identity at the Center podcast. I'm on the road visiting my good friend Arturo here in Monterrey, Mexico. This is my last week of travel for 2019, so while I'm excited to be in Monterrey and see the mountains, and it's gorgeous here, by the way. Weather's perfect. It's like 50 degrees Fahrenheit, which is great for me. Clear skies, mountains all over the place. It's awesome. I thought it'd be a good time to catch up with Arturo, kind of close out the year and talk about some of the different IAM experiences. So welcome again to the podcast, Arturo.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for setting aside some time.
Yeah. No, and actually you are very lucky right now because we are having, as you said, very clear skies right now. So you can have a better pictures from the mountains.
I hope to get some good pictures from up top of the hotel we're at. So let's dive a little bit into, there was some recent news around IAM in Mexico, and that was Pemex getting hit with ransomware. Depending on who you talk to or which article you read, it was either not a big deal, according to the company line, but there were other articles that were quoting inside sources saying it was a much bigger deal than maybe was being let on, and systems were down for much longer than they thought. The ransom was $5 million in Bitcoin, which is quite a bit. Has there been any discussion in the Monterrey IAM community around that topic and how that might affect other things?
Yeah, well, I think that in general, in the cybersecurity community, it has been, along with the Pemex hack a few weeks back, there were some other companies in Mexico that were affected by the same type of attacks. I don't have details if were the same type of malware or sample or something different, but at the end they were different companies that got hacked using these ransomware attacks. And I feel like in here in Mexico, different than in the US, we don't have a very tight regulation in terms of communicating properly these kind of incidents. Some of them, they weren't public because they wasn't a public or a bigger company like Pemex in this case. And I think that I'm agree with you that the issue is more about the communication, because we don't really know if it was something important in terms of real affectation of the company or not. And so a lot of big cases that are happening in some other countries, for instance in the US, the good thing that we have in some cases is that communication was very effective. So actually there are certain articles that they highlight that the very good action of the company after the incident was properly communicate, either the public or their customer, if the customer got affected. So some of the hacks at the end, I think that more than be ready to prevent the hack, because it was able to prevent or not. In some cases yes, in some other not. But I think that the ultimate point is they were able to react properly after they got hacked or after they have the incident. And I believe that the things to highlight or the companies who are more or we as a security professional, we say, okay, these guys seems like they're doing very good job, or they were prepared to react, are the good ones. And in the other hand, we have the companies who cannot react, or they're having misleading communication of the incident. In this case, I think that Pemex, because it's a company of the government, so it was a lot of talking, and the official source say one thing, some other experts say other, some internal sources to reports say something totally different. So I think that the chaos was more around the communication in this particular case.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I guess I'm glad you brought that up, that Pemex is a nationally controlled petroleum company. So my understanding from what I've read is the hack affected more on the billing side of things and sort of back office. Didn't really affect what maybe customers of Pemex might have seen, but it probably more affected B2B type of things. So people who maybe have a financial relationship, whether you're a creditor or some sort of biller within the organization, might have seen some more effects. But that does make me wonder, because the communication was vastly different based on who you talk to. Oh, it's fine, everything's under control, versus, boy, things are a real nightmare behind the scenes, right? Floors of computers are down, can't do whatever. And I still feel like even in the U.S., that's still something that companies struggle with. It's the response to this. So, there's tons of information out there, but really the focus that people are taking now is it's not if we get hacked, it's when we get hacked. How are we going to respond to it? So it's interesting that the hack also that Pemex faced was also seen in the U.S. So companies like Merck, I believe there was a shipping company, Maersk, I think is what it was. Mm-hmm. They had a very similar profile, and they think that maybe those hacks were done by the same group. So there's clearly a targeted, environment here that people that are using this specific ransomware were looking for very specific profiles for companies to try and breach.
Right. And some other thing that I just read this week is about how these type of hacks, like the Pemex and certain others that happened a few weeks back, are gaining the attention of the hackers, because they say, well, there's a target that seems to be easy to hack, right? And then so they are probably trying to look different companies based in Mexico or Latin America, that they can take advantage of this.
Yeah, I feel like there's an opportunity, if I'm looking for a target to breach, companies that maybe in the small to mid-size range that don't have the technical controls in place, things around privileged access management.
Right.
Maybe their users are all local administrators, and I drop a thumb drive in the parking lot, and the person's trying to be helpful. I wonder what this is, or they're curious, and they plug it into their machine, and bang, now I've got their stuff and all their friends. So it's just I think something that companies are starting to pay attention more to. But at some point, there will have to be some investment to try and mitigate that through security training, security awareness, and then what the technical controls to try and block those things from even happening in the first place.
Yeah, and I think that all these things are good in general, because attract the attention of the top executives, and they start making decisions based on this environment in general. But on the other hand, we have that all the sales guys are base their speech on this product is a magic product and can help you with everything, including ransomware. Which is, if you are not very deep into technology, or you are a manager who doesn't have deep understanding about everything, you can probably try to buy something to help you with the ransomware, and having something totally different, or things like that. So you have to be cautious also in making these decisions.
Yeah. I mean, are you saying that salespeople might not be honest in their products? That would never happen. I know some very good sales folks. Shout out to my guy Tim. He's really good. And there are a lot of really good sales folks that really do a good job of positioning where they can help and where they can't. But there are, I feel like there is way more, especially having sat on the customer side for so long, of, oh yeah, this is the magic bullet, like you said, it will solve everything, solve all my problems, etc. Doesn't exist, right? Even the best magic bullet that is out there will only reduce the chance of something happening. It will not outright eliminate it.
Yeah, but after a while, you start to identify those guys, and you start to identify where, even with the words that they are using, like, you guarantee there's no any guarantee on security sides.
Exactly. Let's talk a little bit about IAM work done specifically this year, and kind of the program that you've been working to set up here. What is the biggest IAM accomplishment that you're most proud of for 2019? I'm gonna put you on the spot here, so I'll give you a second to think about it. But
no, in terms of, I think one of the things that I'm really proud of is that this year, at the beginning of the year, we accomplished to enable multi-factor authentication to the whole company. I think that it took us some time to actually go in and communicate and convince the user into that at the beginning. But eventually, after almost 4 months or rolling out the solution to more than 23 case of users, I feel like wait, we did it. I mean, it's something. I think that is a very good milestone for security posture, and also it's like okay, we are moving forward in terms of securing our users, and in this case, the employees, and yeah, it's like big steps in terms of security, and based on that, you start gaining more traction on different security feature that you can enable along with this. And I don't know, in the near future, or I don't know, in 2 years time, probably the biggest achievement should be passwordless or
Passwordless, yeah.
something related to that. So we are step by step, right? But this is the first step, I think. So I would say that is the first one, or the
That's a big one. MFA is huge, and for 23,000 people, and that's across the globe too. That's right, not just in Mexico
yeah,
or
different
US.
cultures,
Yeah.
people who doesn't want to use their phone for that, and so the other thing is that technology right now using this conditional access or this context of the authentication in order to make decision, it also helps to roll out this, because otherwise will be more complex or even impossible, I would say, because if you are not having this context of the user, you cannot lowering the friction of the end user, and at the end that will kill you, the user. If you are going to prompt the MFA every time that they are signing in, it's going to be too much for them.
So being able to take advantage of that conditional access as part of the MFA was probably a big help, right?
Yeah, probably in our case, without that,
It wouldn't have gone through. Yeah.
it will be like just certain amount of user in certain conditions, but not like totally to the employees.
Well, that's great. I think that's a pretty good goal, or a pretty good achievement for the year, for sure.
Yeah, and as a second one that is also important, I think, is the moving out things around formalizing the IAM program and everything related with that, because it's a complex conversation and it's difficult to get the message through top management. And I think it'll be a good job too.
Yeah, I know you and I have had several conversations, especially over the last several months, making sure that the message of IAM is being communicated effectively and received at the executive level so that you can set up these programs, and you've got to win through MFA. So like, yeah, you know what, that went well and it's providing value to the company. We've reduced risk. What else can we do, right, to help that? So I think that was an important conversation to have, and I'm glad to hear that worked out, the way that it did. I think that's very good. So let's flip the coin. What's something that maybe you wish had gone better in 2019, or something that, along those lines of
going better? I will say, and this is probably, it is related to the IAM program implementation or trying to really formalize the IAM program. And I will say that it's everything related with politics. I remember that last year that you were here and you were saying about, okay, the IAM program and everything related to the IAM program is more politics and process and people than the rest of the things like technology and new toys for the company. And I was, politics, yeah, I get it. Yeah, we need that. But at the end, I think that because of different things internally here in the company and the culture and the type of politics that usually the company has, I think that could be better, or we can improve that. How? I'm not sure. Probably try to make some connections internally, try to convince more people, having or looking to expand the sponsorship that we have internally. And I think that this is different based on every company and based on the organization and where you seated on the organization, in the organization chart as well, and in the culture. So probably politics here in Mexico is kind of different than the US. So I need to watch more House of Cards.
House of Cards, sometimes. Hopefully, well, yeah, it could be House of Cards, could be Game of Thrones. Hopefully, not as bloody as either. But those are this is the real world, right? Yeah, people have thoughts and opinions, and that's something that earlier in my IAM career was something that I wish I had done a little more effective job in previous roles, is understanding the politics of it
Yeah.
Because you get, when you're working, neck deep in IAM, a lot of things make sense.
Right.
But there are larger discussions that are taking place above that can certainly impact the ability to get things done. So being able to make relationships and, play the game sometimes of bringing people in and understanding what their motives are and the psychology behind it. And I think politics is a huge part of it. And I know that, whenever I'm working with, clients and customers, is, there's a quote from Forrester that I always like to use, and I can't think of it exactly right at the moment, but politics is included as part of that quote. And it's, the reason I like it so much is because it's one of the only quotes I've seen that includes politics as this is something to account for as part of your IAM program, is, being able to play that game, understand it, kiss the babies, shake the hands, a little bit of a politician, being part of it.
Be part of the picture, and
yep.
yeah,
Exactly.
Definitely. And I'm getting better on that. I mean, going back 12 months ago, it wasn't the same person in terms of politics either. So I hope next year it's getting better and better.
So
let's see what happens.
From a resolution standpoint for 2020, is that one of the resolutions you'll have, is from a 2020 perspective on IAM, is politics?
Yeah, it is politics, yes, but it's also about start growing the professional networks, including, I mean, inside the company for sure, but also outside. Try to find the folks that are working on IAM programs or IAM initiatives in some other companies here in Mexico. To be honest, right now there's not any IAM community getting together or having something like that. Since I saw all the job that ID Pro is doing with the different user groups around the US, one of my ideas for next year, or one of the resolutions that I have, is to start our local group here in Monterrey. And I think that one of the biggest challenge is to find the right people, because here those guys are saying, people who are working on identity, they are either developers working in some user interface or some application, so they are tag themselves as a developer. I'm coding and I'm developer. And some other folks are working more on security side, so they are security professionals, not IAM professionals. So I need to go and deep dive and okay, come with me and let's talk about identity. And so it's going to be at the beginning that way. Try to identify the people, try to invite people just to join us and start talking about different topics around identity. So hopefully in the next few months we will have some community here.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think, do you think that you'll run into resistance with, why are you talking to me? Like, what are you trying to do? Like, will people be guarded at first?
No, not really.
Okay.
No, I mean, they are very open, and I always see the IT community very, very friendly in general. So, and if you are always trying to share knowledge, they will be open. If you are trying to, again, and probably my sales friend will kill me, but usually in this kind of events, when you advertise the meeting, you have to say that it's free or free of sales, guys.
Free of sales,
or there's no selling nothing, and so it's just sharing information, and need to be clear about that, because otherwise you will be people got scared and they won't attend. But if you are saying, okay, no, it's just we're talking about this topic and I'm sharing information and that's it.
So what I'll do is, in the show comments for this, I'll put your LinkedIn. So if you're listening in Monterrey or close by in Mexico and want to, help Arturo out with setting up an IAM group, I'll put your information so they can reach out to you on LinkedIn. If that's right.
Sure. Actually, in the next few weeks, I will start sharing posts on LinkedIn as well.
Great.
To have more information about that, and hopefully by the end of January, we'll try to set up the first one.
Very cool. So for next year, are there any conferences that you might be interested in attending? Because sometimes those are great hubs to be able to talk with other people. And...
Yeah, actually happened last time when I met people from ID Pro in Identiverse in Washington this year. So yeah, I am willing to attend Identiverse, should be one of them. In general, for me, I never attend Black Hat before, so it's still on my bucket list. So I want to attend Black Hat.
So before you get to Black Hat's interesting because it's not really an IAM focused show, but there are certainly IAM topics because how do breaches happen? Typically through credentials, right? So being able to understand how that happens is important. It can be expensive sometimes to go, but I found a cheap way to get to Black Hat. If you're not able to get the full funding for the full pass, which is usually like $2,000 or $3,000 in US, you can also get what they call like a business hall pass, which is only $500. So you can still go into the business hall, talk with the different vendors who are there, and see some of the sessions. So that's an option that I've used, several times over the years as a way to say, okay, well, sometimes funding for conferences might be hard to come by. What if I could get in there a little bit cheaper and save some money for that? So that could be an option for folks who are listening that have never been to Black Hat. It's a great conference to go to. I mean, definitely laid back, definitely casual. You'll see everybody wearing, suits and ties down to shorts and t-shirts and everything in between. It's a fun one to go to. Big too. It's like 30,000 people, I think, that go to it. But sometimes it can be expensive. So an option to consider might be something like a business hall pass. And that would also apply to things like the RSA conference.
Yeah, RSA, what I never attend RSA, and it's actually in some other item in my bucket list. But what I heard from that conference is that hotels are like crazy.
It's ridiculous. It's San Francisco, so there's already, the built-in cost of that. But yeah, I think that's the biggest knock on RSA is it's a huge conference. It's in a great city that happens to be really expensive. So unless you have a really good deal from a hotel perspective, that's another one that's tough to get to. Another one that I'll try and save money on sometimes is I'll just get the conference, or the business hall pass and spend all my time going back and forth between the two different expos that they have. And sometimes they include keynotes as part of that. So there are ways around it, but yeah, it is really expensive to go.
They should move to Las Vegas.
I don't want to. I've received surveys in the past that they might be considering that. I know Oracle, I think, recently signed a 3-year deal with the city of Las Vegas, so they're moving out of San Francisco and moving to Las Vegas, their show, and the hotel costs were one of the reasons they cited it as being that, and that's a big loss for San Francisco. I think it was a $64 million loss to the economy per year because of them leaving that conference, leaving the city. So I love San Fran. It's one of my favorite cities in the world, but yeah, it's expensive, and I hope they start to recognize that and maybe try to figure out a way to make it a little bit easier to have conferences there, because otherwise Las Vegas is going to eat the world because they're so well designed and relatively affordable when it comes to those sorts of things.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I heard that RSA is a huge conference, so probably it's going to be difficult to move some other cities.
Yeah.
But what I like from Identiverse is that they are moving each year from different cities, so it's like a tour. So if you're attending every single year, it's not like you are going back to the same city,
right? And
you don't have nothing new to see or something like that. So you will enjoy actually the city, know the city if you've never been there.
Yeah, I think this year it's in Denver, I believe. Yeah, Colorado. So that'll be nice.
You will have mountains.
Yeah, my mountains will be different than Washington D.C. That's for sure. It won't be as hot and humid as it was this year, I hope. Be a little bit weather. People who want to go skiing, they'll be, I think, relatively close to do that, or outdoor type things. And previous years it was New Orleans and Chicago, and yeah, they do a good job of picking cool spots to kind of go to, and hopefully people are able to extend their trips, go for a few days for Identiverse and then add on a couple days to either do a vacation with families and stuff like that. So that'll be pretty cool. All right, well, I want to just have a kind of a quick conversation and take advantage of the time that we've had here and kind of get your thoughts down and accost you with our podcast again.
No, always very happy to have this conversation and all the offline conversation that we have while you are here. And yeah, thank you for inviting me again.
Cool, well, I appreciate it. Just as a kind of a note for folks who are listening, just want to thank everyone who's been listening throughout this entire year. This is actually episode number 26 over the last 6 months. So we started the show back in the first week of July of 2019. And Jim and I have been putting out content every week. It's been a learning experience for both of us as we're doing this. We've never done a podcast before. I've never done anything as close to this as far as editing. So we're learning on the fly, and I think that things have gotten a bit easier and faster as we're going along, and we hope that folks have enjoyed the ride so far. We both have time off coming up the next few weeks, so this is probably going to be our last show for the year, I'm assuming. So we plan on picking back up in early January. So we're going to take a couple weeks off here for Christmas and the New Year's. Let our respective cases of holiday brain clear up as we get back, from the New Year's. For the folks that are working in IAM operations over this break, may your systems stay up and running. May your password reset calls go very smoothly, because everyone's going to call January 2nd with, I forgot my passwords. That's, one of the seasonal spikes.
That's classical.
Yeah, so want to thank everyone for listening. Hope everyone has a great holiday, and we'll talk with you guys early next year in 2020. Take care.
You've been listening to the Identity at the Center podcast. To access all episodes, visit identityatthecenter.com.